Humbert after defeating Alcaraz, "It's the most beautiful victory of my career." The French tennis player spoke to the media after his great victory over Carlos Alcaraz in the round of 16 at the Paris Masters 1000 in a 3-set match. Humbert, very happy with his victory. The round of 16 at the last Masters 1000 of the year brought an electrifying match between a local player and the world number 2, ending in celebration for the French fans. Hugo Humbert achieved the greatest victory of his young career by defeating Carlos Alcaraz in a tight 3-set match that ultimately fell in his favor. The Frenchman is having a strong season and is particularly dangerous on this surface, indoor, as well as on grass. After the match, the Frenchman spoke to the media about the experience. Statements after the match. "This is the most beautiful victory of my career, and it's the best moment I've experienced on a tennis court. It's incredible, I've trained for this. That's what I kept telling myself in the 3rd set. I didn't want a repeat of what happened last year. I also thought about that match against Zverev, and it made me stronger. On the conditions. I know that on this kind of surface and on grass, I can be a challenge for the best players in the world with my game. In the Davis Cup, it was incredible, I couldn't see the light, and it devastated me. But here it was different, the crowd was amazing, supporting me. I'm happy to give them this victory because it was an important moment for me, and it's fantastic to share it with them." On the match. Jeremy told me, "Don't do what you did in the Davis Cup, don't overplay. That's why I started very aggressively. In the 2nd set, I lost several points, and he played better. I suppose I had fought hard in the 1st set, and I had to fight again at the start of the 3rd set. Throughout the 3rd set, I kept talking to myself, reminding myself that I was there and that I couldn't give up. It worked. I felt better, and it was the right solution." Alcaraz faded again in Paris. Once more, he leaves the Paris Masters 1000 frustrated. Overpowered by Hugo Humbert, the local player who outplayed the Spaniard in the 1st set and resisted Carlos's comeback in the deciding set to strike decisively in the final stages. Alcaraz couldn't find a solution to the problems Humbert presented in the form of power shots. The Spaniard finished the 1st set with just 1 game won, 15 unforced errors, and only 4 winners. All of it happened in a little over 20 minutes. It had happened so quickly, much like the Paris court itself, another one of Alcaraz's opponents. It's the fastest court on the circuit and caught the Spaniard off guard. I don't want to say something that sounds like an excuse. Hugo deserves the victory, but, for instance, the indoor court at the Davis Cup was slower than this one. When I played my first match here, the statistics showed that this was the fastest court on the Masters 1000 circuit. This is crazy. I don't know why they did it, Alcaraz complained. The loss could have further consequences if Zverev, who also advanced, reaches the tournament final, as he would overtake the Spaniard for the 2nd spot in the rankings. Such a change would be reflected in the ATP finals in Turin, where the top 8 players on the circuit will meet. Sinner will arrive as number 1 and will be paired in the draw with number 2, whose name has yet to be determined. If Zverev reaches the final, he would surpass Alcaraz, who would go to Turin as the 3rd seed. This could lead to sharing a group with Sinner and Djokovic, increasing the difficulty of securing one of the 2 top spots that provide access to the ATP Finals semifinals. These results come at the end of the season, a period in which Alcaraz has once again struggled, similar to last year. Last season's setbacks allowed Carlos the opportunity to accumulate a substantial number of points in the final months. He had almost no points to defend, given that in 2023 he lost in the round of 16 in Shanghai and in the 1st round in Paris. This also complicates his pursuit of the top ranking at the start of next year. The Australian Open had emerged as a great opportunity for this goal, given that Sinner cannot add points, while Alcaraz defends his 2024 quarterfinals. But to achieve this, he needed the gap to be as narrow as possible. With the results in Shanghai and Paris, Alcaraz has hit a reality check. The goal of challenging Sinner seems further away. Alcaraz's criticism of the Paris Masters court draws some backlash. Carlos Alcaraz struggled in his recent defeat to Hugo Humbert at the Paris Masters 1000, highlighting his discomfort on fast indoor courts. The Spanish player barely has time to prepare his shots on this surface, resulting in numerous unforced errors that prevent him from being a contender under such conditions. Against Humbert, with the entire crowd against him, Alcaraz seemed unable to find an effective response to his opponent's game. The Spaniard finished the 1st set having won only 1 game, with 15 unforced errors and only 4 winners. Everything happened in just over 20 minutes, at a pace as fast as the Paris court itself. The surface at the Accor Arena, the fastest of the season, exposed the weaknesses in Alcaraz's game on such courts, leading him to criticize the conditions. I don't want it to sound like an excuse. Hugo deserves his victory, but, For instance, the indoor Davis Cup court was slower than this one. In my first match here, it was shown that this was the fastest court in a Masters 1000. It's crazy. I don't understand why they modified it like this, expressed Alcaraz. We're not robots. I played well indoors at the Davis Cup, but that court was slower. This one is the fastest among the Masters 1000, and I don't know why they changed it. Maybe I should have come to Paris earlier to better adapt to these conditions, admitted Alcaraz. Criticisms of Alcaraz. These remarks by Carlos Alcaraz have drawn several criticisms in different sectors of tennis. He has to accept that each court is different, is what's being echoed within the ATP and the organization of the Paris Masters 1000. After all, one unique aspect of tennis is that it can be played under various conditions, and each player has their preferred type of court. Some players dislike clay, while others love it. The same goes for grass and fast courts. Each player has a preferred condition, and what's great about the circuit is that virtually everyone gets to play on their favorite surface at some tournament. The result puts Humbert in the quarterfinals and leaves Alcaraz out of the tournament. The elimination could have greater consequences if Alexander Zverev, who also advanced, reaches the final, as he would push Alcaraz down to third place in the rankings. Another sign of an inconsistent end to the season for the Spaniard. That's tennis, he commented. The French crowd supported Humbert, the local player, although their relationship with Alcaraz has changed over time. Unlike the hostile reception he received 3 years ago against Hugo Gaston, this time the crowd was more cordial. Since then, a lot has changed. I've won here in Paris, Roland Garros, and now I have the support of some French fans. Today, they showed me more respect, and I appreciate it. It's normal for them to cheer for Humbert, but they also applauded some of my points, concluded Alcaraz, who now heads to Turin to play in the ATP Finals. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, because at Tennis Zone we're dedicated to bringing you the best information for the best audience, sharing in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews, and complete coverage of everything related to the world of tennis. Join our community and be part of the excitement of the tournaments with us. Additionally, at Tennis Zone, we strive to offer you updated and quality content on players, tournaments, strategies, and the most relevant events in the global tennis scene.